In this part 2 of the Dick Smith System 80 video, I'm just going to go through and do some cleaning pretty much and put the machine back together. So if you want to have a look at part 1, where I just go through a basic introduction of the machine, take a wee look at that. I'll leave a description down below for a link to that. And just did a quick overview on the machine, and I've got another computer that I show in that video as well that's not working. It's got an issue. I might one day tackle that, but this computer is alive and well, but just a little bit dirty. So I've taken the lid off here, as you can see, and we'll give that a wee clean up. But first of all, I need to remove the bits and pieces from the base. I'm going to remove the keyboard, tape drive, power supply and the boards here, just to so I can clean this lower casing here. It's a bit grubby, so these little connectors here are quite interesting. They're just individual pins that come straight out of the ribbon cable and go into push into the holes there. That's for the keyboard connection. And there's also similar connectors for the interboard connections here as well. So yeah, I don't know how reliable they would be. That's pretty well ready to come out. I'd loosened these screws earlier, a long time ago actually. Well, not that one, I'll do that one. And the cat's decided to turn up. Haven't ya? I just find this stuff interesting. And working on the table. And what's holding that in? Another screw? Yeah, there's another screw down in here. I want to try and get that out without disconnecting those interboard connections. That one's out. There's one over here. I had a whole lot of trouble when I dragged this out again, tuning the RF. So I'm just going to disconnect the RF lead. I'm not sure why I couldn't tune it. I have got a reasonably modern little Sharp TV, which is normally pretty good at tuning into things, and that wouldn't tune, and so I plugged it into my Sony main TV. It wouldn't tune into that either, and I thought, well, maybe it was because it's a maybe the screens were too modern, and so I dragged out an old 14-inch Sony CRT. That wouldn't tune either. So not quite sure what's going on with the RF, but anyway, I desoldered it from the connection there so I can get it out. Tape drive. Let's just get that tape cassette drive out. Should. Anyway, I managed to cobble together a composite style DIN connection video cable that was compatible, so that got me going. Actually, I think that's probably good enough for me to get in there and clean. It really just needs a dust out. I'll give that a blowout with the compressor. There's a couple of broken mounting posts here that I might be able to fix up if I've got the other parts. So I'll go ahead and give this a blowout. Right, that's all cleaned up there now. Not overly dirty, it was just a bit dusty really. That's looking good. Pretty sure that part goes there, and I'm almost certain that one goes there. So let's get some glue on there. It's a little bit of super glue, probably not that much anyway. Okay, and that one there. A little bit of glue there. And I'll leave that to set. The next job is to just give this just a clean. I notice quite often on old computers you get these sort of marks here. They're actually indentations. I mean, you'd almost think that that's got hot, or you know, someone's dragged a soldering iron across it. That's what I've always sort of thought, is maybe someone's been a bit careless with a soldering iron. But I see it so often on old computers that I'm wondering actually whether it's where the cord, the power cord or some cord has laid across here and it's been lying there for potentially a decade, you know, or more. And there's a big one up, big one there, one there, and they always seem to be in lines. So I'm still wondering whether that could be it, whether the cable's been lying across there. There's a little bit of something going on there where something's been sitting in there. Another little mark. I'm not going to get too carried away. I'm just going to physically clean the dust and dirt off. There's a little crack here, and in fact on my other machine that's cracked in exactly the same place, so that looks like quite a weak point. You can see the faux wood grain. Nice. LGR would love that. Lazy Game Reviews. I'm sure a lot of you would know Clint from Lazy Game Reviews. If you haven't seen his channel, I highly recommend it. Okay, the case is dried off now. I'm just going to have a wee inspection here to see if there are any major problems. There's a wee bit of a crack there in the corner. You can see the remnants of an old sticker here. I'll clean that up. This crack on the front here. I can't do much about the marks there. These marks here. The label looks quite good. Actually, I think the label's still got the plastic protector stuck onto it. The label looks like it's lifting a little bit here. I don't think I'll worry too much about that. I think the plastic protector sticker's still on that as well. I've got the little piece for this here, so I'll glue that on. And the label on the back there looks fine. Let's get a bit of glue on here. Just want to be careful that I don't put too much on, otherwise it's going to come out the front and dry, sort of make it look a bit ugly. Just get a little bit on there. Even so, it's coming out the front, splotched at the front a little bit. The problem is that the temptation is to wipe it up, but then it leaves a smear. You can see the glue's come out the front. I think I'll leave that. I don't think that wiping that will make it any better. Okay, so while that glue dries, now the tape deck looks in reasonable condition. Yeah, that belt looks quite loose. That might need replacing. I'll see if I can find a belt that's the right length there. the little counter belt. Belt for the counter there, that's seems okay. But in general, you know, I think this computer was fairly well looked after. The plastic protective coating is still on the lid, see-through part of the lid there. I was just looking at how this belt's going to come off, and you know, it looks like it has to come out between this here, this metal plate, and there's a little bearing. This other side of this plastic screw is like a little bearing. So this is the back side of the capstan drive, and you might be able to see there that the bottom of this, in between here, where the little ball is, that little ball is supposed to sit in a little recess on that plastic white bearing, and it's actually not engaged at all. So it looks like this plate here is bent out of position. So I should probably look at straightening that out first. But before I do so, maybe I should just see if I can slip the belt past that little gap there and get the new belt on. I've got a new belt. It looks roughly the same size, but it might be just slightly different thickness of cross-section of the rubber. But it looks like the right lengths. Okay. See if I can... Yeah. Managed to get the belt out. It's not much stretch left in it. And this belt here is, as I say, it's a bit thinner, sort of weaker. Actually, it's not. I think it's actually too long. I think the new belt's too long. Let's see if we can find a shorter one. Yeah, that belt, the new belt I've got there, is a bit shorter. Plenty of stretch. So let's see if I can get that in. Yep, pretty easy to get in. Yeah, not sure whether that's going to have enough tension or not. That one's quite a bit shorter. That might have a little bit more tension to it. That just seems a little bit loose. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. A slightly weaker band because of the smaller cross section, but I think with a little bit of extra tension there, it's going to be good enough. Tempted to sort this out though. That might need a bit of a bending. Okay. You may notice from time to time you can hear aircraft flying by. That's because we're right beside a, well, not far from a local airfield where they do pilot training, so got a lot of small aircraft around this area. So you may notice that from time to time in some of these videos. Right, I'll just give that, actually it's more of a flat surface. I sort of imagined that there might be a little hole there for this ball to go into, like a little bearing, but there's not. It's flat. I actually had to bend it in the vise just slightly. The pliers weren't quite strong enough to deal with it. It's looking better. It's still not lined up 100%, but definitely better. You know, it's definitely on the bearing surface, and it's going to stop that capstan wheel from falling out, or moving. Okay, it's time to start putting it back together. Start by putting the tape deck back in. A little meter there. Right, now main board and video board. Let me get those in. Now that's there. That one there. Certainly nice and easy to work on, that's for sure. Very easy to get to. So that's the power from the power supply, tape deck lead here. And keyboard here. Yeah, this is a little bit awkward. I think that's got everything lined up there. That cable's quite stiff. Well, that looks to be plugged in nicely there now. Now it's just a matter of these two screws that are clogged up with that, looks like a Loctite, or a very light Loctite, just to stop the screws from undoing. They paint on in the factory. Just clear that out with a needle. And that one there needs to clear out. Some sort of locking compound that they put in to stop the screw from coming out. There's a tiny little bit of surface rust here. It's not too bad. I don't think I'll worry about that at this stage. Lid time. Tape drive isn't, that needs to come back a bit. This dial here is not coming through properly. That's got it. Okay. This label on the back here. System 80. Designed for Australia, made in Hong Kong. And the basic interpreter, copyright Microsoft 1980, Microsoft Basic. It's quite common for computers back in the day to have Microsoft Basic installed. very long screws. The metal insert threaded nuts. From what I understand, that's the 40 and 80 column toggle switch. And over this side we have a reset switch, monitor plug and external tape recorder. Ooh, it got me. Blood. Can't have blood on your keyboard. Jeez. Keyboard's actually really nice and white. It's pity the plastics have yellowed more than the keyboard has. It no longer matches. So having the second tape recorder port means that I guess if your internal tape deck failed, you could have an external unit. So now it's time to plug it in and crank it up. I've hooked up the computer to my Commodore 1084S. So let's fire up. You won't see much here obviously, just a red light, power light. We have a ready. Now when I first started using this, and I still don't know a lot about it, I haven't really put a lot of time into messing around with this computer. But when I first started, I assumed you'd just, start typing, your program in, like so. And you get an error. And then back to the ready prompt. What you have to do is hit new line, and it takes the prompt down to here. So I'm not quite sure if that one at the top is some sort of immediate mode, but actually if I reset, it doesn't reset it up to the top there. This is all go here down the bottom. And there we go. Now that artifacting you can see there, I can see that as well. It's not an artifact of the camera. So I'm not quite sure if I have a problem somewhere, maybe with video RAM or something. I don't know whether that's normal or not. But anyway, the more I play around with this machine, the more I'll get to experiment and try different things out. In the first video of this series, I showed the string floppy wafer discs. They're a continuous loop tape. It's a similar technology to the micro drives for the Sinclairs. And I mentioned there that I didn't have the drive for it. Well, I was having a wee rummage through the garage and found the drive. I'd forgotten that I'd got this with the machine, so interfaces somehow on the, maybe to the back of the machine, or not sure. Going to look into that. That looks like a power adapter, power cord. Also a joystick, which would imply that maybe you can plug a joystick into this beastie. Not sure how that's going to work either. So the other computer that I've got, the one that I showed in the first video that's not working, that's had a lot of modifications done to it, and this kit here came with that computer. So if I can get that up and running, I'm sure I can get some of these other devices working. Now this is interesting. I don't quite... I'm not quite sure what this is. Looks fairly homemade. But yeah, I haven't investigated that yet. And it's also got this dual type cable here that's been tapped into here, little interface board. And this end it's like Centronics. That's the power supply. I guess if I have a close look at the other computer, I'll be able to, you know, glean a certain amount of information as to where these peripherals plug in and how they might work. But there's not much point doing that until I've got that computer actually up and running. Here's another something. Yeah. Anyway, I've got some more cassettes. We've got Robot Voyage, Frog, Sargon, 10-pin, Golf, Rapid Run, Whodunit, Air Pilot, Perfect Pong, Mind Twist, Housey, Running, LDG, Mile Rate, Accounts, Chess, Education, Hangman, Biorhythm Records, Text, Words, Duplic, OmniKey, APC Mon, Base Step, Quick, Cosmic Patrol, Miner, Subhunt, Othello, Hustler. So yeah, I would say a well-loved computer back in the day. So you know, there's a whole lot of fodder for another many videos, I would say. But in the meantime, I'll be testing out the cassette drive there, and so yeah, keep an eye out for more videos on this machine, and there will be more videos, I guess, in the future relating to some of these peripherals, so keep an eye out for those. And yeah, next video, check out the cassette drive, make sure that's all working properly, maybe run a little bit of basic, test that artifacting to see if that's a problem on the screen, and yeah, so keep an eye out for more videos, and I thank you very much for watching.